In this video, we're going to continue talking about AccuDraw, and we're going to focus on ways to rotate the AccuDraw Compass to the needs of our design. The first two-letter shortcut we're going to look at is RQ. RQ allows us to rotate the AccuDraw Compass basically freely in any direction we want. So our first challenge is going to be, we need to move this vault by this corner, and we need to move it exactly 2 feet exactly towards the corner of that shape. Now, if I place in a line, I've already placed in a red dot. This helps us to know where that point is. Now, I'm doing that for illustration during this exercise. In the real world, you would not have a red dot, nor would you have a line probably to work with. You just have a direction that you need to go. So again, the line and the red dot would not be part of your design. So I'm going to undo the line. I'm going to go to my Move element, press and hold the right button. The context menu appears. There's Move. I'm going to pick the point to move from, top of that vault right there. You see the compass appear. The compass is currently rotated to the top orientation. What I need to do is rotate it so that its x-axis is pointing directly towards the corner of the shape. That's where the RQ shortcut comes in. So I'm going to type in RQ, and what happens is whatever command I'm in, which happened to have been Move, is suspended. I'm now being asked to define the x-axis for my compass. So you can see I can freely rotate it anywhere I want to. I'm going to pick the corner of the shape. I'm going to do a data. You're going to see the compass is now rotated so that it goes right along that axis. It makes it very easy for me to define a distance. I can now move it along that axis. On my keyboard, I type in 2. You can see it locks it. I do a data. And I've now moved that vault by its corner exactly 2 feet in that direction. So I'm going to do an undo. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So the RQ shortcut, I have to pick a point to define the amount of rotation. The next shortcut we're going to look at is the RE shortcut. Now RE also rotates the compass, but it requires me to select an element to define the rotation of the compass. So we're going to use this in the context of the vault right here and the curb. Right now, they're not lined up with each other. So if I rotate my view, shift right click to the top orientation, pan over a little bit, you're going to see the face of the vault is right there, and you can see the curb is over here, and they're not parallel to each other. So we need to rotate the vault so that it is parallel to that. So I'm going to rotate my view, zoom in a bit. I'm going to go to my Rotate Element tool, press and hold the right button. Context menu appears, there's Rotate. On my Tool Settings window, I have the method currently set to 3 points. Now what 3 points does, just as it does in 2D, it asks me to pick 3 points. A pivot point, a start of rotation, and the amount of rotation. So I'm going to pick the element. Step 1 is the vault. Now it wants to know where's the start of the rotation or the pivot point. That's going to be this point here. I'm going to Data. My compass appears and it's planar to the top of the vault, which is good. It now is asking me to define the start of the rotation. That's going to be this corner of the vault right there, Data. Now it's looking for me to define the amount of the rotation. Well, what I want to do is I want to make the compass parallel to the curb, and that's where the RE shortcut comes in. So I'm going to move my cursor over here. I'm going to type in RE. Just like RQ, it suspends my command, and it's looking for me to, in this case, identify an element. So I'm going to move my cursor over the top of the curb. You'll see the compass. It's a very slight orientation, but it rotates to match the angle, parallel or perpendicular, to the face of the curb. I'm going to Data. Now my compass is rotated. Now I can just move my cursor around, and I just move it so that it's going in one of the axes that I want. In this case, it's this axis. And if it keeps jumping around a little bit, in 3D, it's a little bit tricky to get it to lock in. You can at any point hit Enter, and that will lock you on the axis. This was learned in a prior video. So now that it's locked on that axis, parallel to the curb, I Data. Then I do a top view, shift right click, and now you can see the face of my vault is parallel to the back of the curb. So I'm going to do an undo. going to rotate the view around a little bit. Now the next example for the RE shortcut is you can see we've got a sloped section of sidewalk. There's a slope to it. We need to place in our cell so that it is planar to that sloped sidewalk. So I'm going to go to my Place Cell tool. Now the vault just happens to be my active cell. I need to place this relative to this corner here. Now in the prior video we learned about setting the origin. We can either type in the letter O or do a control tentative, either one. So if I hit the letter O, you're going to see the compass appears there. Now the compass currently is not oriented to be planar to the top of that sidewalk. So how do I get it to do that? The RE shortcut. So RE doesn't just rotate the compass's axes, it also rotates the plane of the compass. So I'm going to type in RE. Again, it suspends my command. I'm going to move my cursor over the top of the sidewalk. I'm going to do a data. And now you can see the compass is rotated so that it's planar to that sidewalk. Now the orientation of the compass, it's X and it's Y, which the Y is designated by a green tick mark, the positive Y, and the positive X is designated by a red tick mark. Now what you don't see is the Z. That's actually coming out perpendicular to the origin of the compass. I need to rotate the compass around so that as I'm placing this in, it's going to be oriented correctly. So I'm going to rotate the compass about its Z-axis. This is where I'm going to use the two-letter shortcut RZ. So I type in RZ, and you'll see the compass rotated 90 degrees. I need to do that 2 more times. Another RZ, another RZ, and you can see now the compass is rotated so that I can move right along that axis and the vault will be placed oriented correctly. So now as I move it along, I need to go how far? I need to go 8 feet. I type in 8. That locks, in this case, the x-axis. Now as I move my cursor out, because I'm locked at that distance of 8, now I'm defining, in a sense, the offset. The thickness of my vault is 0.5, so I need to place it 0.5. Type in 0.5, I data, reset, and now I've placed that, and it is now planar to the sidewalk, which was at a slope. So I'm going to rotate the view around a little bit more here. Now the shortcut that I showed you, RZ, there are 2 other shortcuts that are cousins to that. I'm going to rotate one more time so we can see this corner. So I'm going to go to the Place Smart Line tool, and I'm going to start a line. When I do that, you're going to notice that the compass appears. It remembers my last orientation. So I'm going to rotate it again to match the face of something, and that face is going to be this side of the sidewalk. So I'm going to type in RE. I data on the face that I want to match. I do a data, and I'm now rotated to match that angle of that sidewalk, that face on the sidewalk. The next shortcut we're going to talk about is going to be how do we rotate around any one of the 3 axes. I've already showed you RZ. We'll see that again. The red tick mark, as I indicated before, is the compass's positive X. The green tick mark is the compass's positive Y. We need to rotate the compass, in this case, about the red or x-axis. On my keyboard, I type in RX. You see how it rotated the compass about that axis? What if I needed to rotate it about the y-axis? RY. That rotates it about the y-axis. I can rotate it about the x-axis again, RX. If the compass isn't rotated the way you want it to be for what you're doing, there are lots of shortcuts that allow you to rotate it in almost any orientation you need. The next one I'm going to show you, I'm going to go ahead and hit reset, has to do with your view. Now, if I rotate my view a little bit, zoom out, you're going to notice, as you did before, that that section of the sidewalk is sloped. If I rotate to a top orientation, shift right click, top, what you're looking at on the sidewalk is you're looking down the slope. Okay, so this point here is higher than that point. And you can see the vault, you see a little bit of a shadow on the side there. This vault, because we're looking straight down on it, is a top view. but this one is a slope, so it's a little bit less obvious. So I'm going to rotate the view just a little bit more, and I'm going to zoom in. Going to do another rotation here. What I want to do is rotate my view to be planar to that sloped surface of that sidewalk. So there's another shortcut, last one we'll talk about. It's the letters RV. Once you get the compass oriented the way you want, you can then type in RV, and that would rotate your view so that it lines up with the compass's X and Y. So I'm going to do a control tentative. The compass appears. I'm going to rotate the compass to match the plane of the sidewalk, RE. I data. You can now see the compass is rotated to be planar to the sidewalk. Now to get the view to rotate, I type in RV. And now you can see I'm looking straight down on the sidewalk. The vault, you can see we're looking at straight down because it was also planar to the top of the sidewalk. But the other vault, you can see we see these sides because that was not the same plane as this sidewalk here. So those were some shortcuts. The RQ, that lets you rotate by picking any point you want. Generally, it's a point on an element. There's RE, which allows you to rotate the AccuDraw compass to match an existing element. So you have to pick an element to do that. We saw RX, which rotates the compass about the x-axis. We saw RY, that rotates the compass about the y-axis. And RZ rotates the compass about the z-axis. And the last one we saw actually rotated the view to line up with the compass. That was the letters RV. Practicing these shortcuts, working in a 3D world, in no time at all, you'll be a master. See you in the next video.